How's it going, guys, and welcome back to Retrospect, your go-to retro gaming podcast. You're listening to episode 58. Today, we'll be talking about console controllers, how they've evolved, and some of our personal favorites. On the mics, as always, back from the happiest place on the earth, the Mickey Mouse maniac, Brandon Saltalamacchia. What's up, dude?
Hey, man. It's been for those, I'll just have to give a heads up. I caught something at Disney. I think all the kids like spitting everywhere and just throwing up. I caught something. So I sound a little bit croaky today. I got flubber up inside of me, but I'm back from Disneyland Paris. It was as incredible.
Yeah, I was going to say,
as
how is it? How was Disneyland Paris, man? How was that?
I loved it, man. Like the second you step in, it's literally a whole new world. The queue times.
Pun intended.
A whole new world. The queue times, I think, but I went in expecting the worst. And I think our biggest queue time was like 40 minutes, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Dude, okay. So have you been to Disney before?
First
so this
time.
is your first time going. Oh my
parents promised me as a kid. It never happened. I don't forget, Mama. So I took myself.
We're airing some grievances, some family grievances on the podcast this morning.
No, bless her cotton socks. She couldn't afford it. That thing's expensive. Even just me and Kate. Dude. Holy smokes! I paid I think it was like $12 for a tiny little tub of popcorn, and then I paid $16 or euros, sorry, for like 2 tablespoons of paella. What the fuck? How do people afford this? Especially if you go with kids, like, nuh-uh, we're eating bread today.
We're packing Sammy's. We're not eating in the park. You want a drink? Go get the water. Go get some water fountain water.
Yeah, dripping it off a leaf. That's all we can afford today.
See that trash can over there? Yeah, go find something to eat out of there.
That's some bin juice. Drink it up.
Some bin juice? Oh. Okay, so I got to know, first time in Disneyland, and it's Disneyland, right? Not Disney World, or is it Disney World?
Yeah, I think it's Disneyland Paris.
Okay, because there's a difference, I think, in the world versus the land. This one you still have like some of the different parks, right? You have the Magic Kingdom, which is the main attraction, and it has most of the things in there. And is there any other parks that you could have gone to?
Yeah, I should know this.
Animal Kingdom.
There's Disneyland, and then there's like the Disney Studios, I think, where you have like Avengers Campus.
Okay, Hollywood Studios or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got to do some of that stuff too. You got to go to Hollywood Studios. I think I saw you post a picture actually in front of like the Star Wars stuff. What'd you think of that?
No Star Wars stuff in Paris. 0, but they're currently building it, I think. I think they're building out a Star Wars section and a Frozen section. But Avengers Campus was one of my favorite,
Okay.
It was like, it was incredible.
Was it was the Guardians ride there?
No, they've got the Web Slingers one where you're like shooting with your hands and the cameras can see, so you're like shooting your slingshots at screens and stuff. So you're just there constantly like, and you come out and your biceps are like 3 times the size. You're like, whoo, Web Slingers, baby.
I do that with my son all the time. I do a lot of web slinging that way. That is awesome. I feel like Disney, like you're saying, the price is outrageous, and it is typically more expensive if you stay on the resort. You save some money that way. Did you guys like stay in like one of like the attached hotels or whatever to it?
Yeah, we did. It was like a package or something.
That's the way to do it, man. You got the magic bands. You just go in and you live your best life. You get like free shuttle rides into the park. I mean, well, dude, what was your favorite of all the rides that you had?
So Kate's pregnant, so she couldn't go on any of the big rides. I managed to do like a single rider for, I can't remember what it is. It's like the famous train. I think you've got one in California. It's like big train.
Okay.
Summit Wild West. I don't know. There's a famous. there's a famous train that you go
Thunder
around.
Mountain.
That's the one. Yes.
Thunder Mountain. Yeah.
That was incredible. I was a single rider with some French guy, and we absolutely loved it. Just like 2 30-year-old grown men like, wee, woohoo! woo! Just putting your hands in the air like, wah! And my Kate could just see me and this guy like, what the hell? This is either pathetic or really adorable.
Two best buds, just me and the French guy, just riding Thunder Mountain together.
It was great.
Oh man, do you guys was Splash Mountain still there?
No, I don't think we got a Splash Mountain. There's like Hyperspace Mountain, which is like the Star Wars one, but that was broken the whole time we were there.
Ooh, no Space Mountain. That one's classic. Classic. Well, dude, that's awesome. I am so glad that you had a good time. And did you guys do anything else when you were around there, or just all Disney pretty much?
Yeah, we had 4 days in Paris. Have mixed feelings about Paris, but that could be a whole new episode.
Yeah, we'll save that for next time. Brandon's mixed feelings about Paris. All right, well, let's jump into a quick little bit of housekeeping for you guys. We are sponsored by A Handheld History, 88 to 95. If you haven't gotten your copy yet, what are you doing? Go get yourself a freaking copy. It's one of the best handheld retro gaming coffee table books of all time ever. It's beefier than ever. And I think if anyone comes to your house and they see this sitting on your coffee table, they're going to immediately respect you. And that is one reason alone to buy this book. Like, wow, this person's sick. They have a handheld history, 88 to 95 on their coffee table. It's my new best friend.
So our first one actually is also shipping on Amazon in 2 weeks. So if you get your pre-orders in, that will be start shipping in 2 weeks worldwide.
Oh my goodness. And you guys are also going to be in Barnes & Noble, right? Or are you already in there?
Yeah, I think towards the end of the year, HarperCollins, our publisher, is going to start putting it in those shops, which would be really cool. That'd be like quite a moment for me, seeing it
physically in
just
person.
A bookstore. Yeah,
dude, seriously, I love going to Barnes & Noble and just walk around a bookstore. I'll see if they have it in there and just
keep your eye out.
Take a picture, just do a little stage photo shoot or something like that.
And pull it to the front, pull the books to the front.
Yeah, of course.
You got it.
I'll bring my own little marquee stand and I'll just put it in front of everything.
Yeah.
I'll start start signing autographs. Like I on behalf of Brandon, I'll sign this for you. That's awesome, dude. Well, yeah, pick up your copy and check out the ones on Amazon as well. Just the original on Amazon. That'll be some fun stuff. All right, and then be sure to write into the show, just like Newspeak did. We did an episode 2 weeks ago about the Game Boy, and he had a really cool response. He said, "The OG Game Boy was the best Christmas gift I've ever been given. I was 10 years old in 1989 when I got it, and I lost my mind when I opened that gift, even though I only had Tetris to play for a while after that. Took that thing everywhere. My favorite moment, though, was with a Nintendo handheld, was playing Mario Kart on my DS Lite with like 7 or 8 people at a coffee shop. Nintendo really has been great with trying to get people to game in person together, even into the internet age stuff like Street Pass on the 3DS is great, even if it's less personal. The sad thing about the merger of their old consoles and portable divisions is that it feels like with the Switch, the portable aspect takes a back seat. I hope we can see more emphasis on portable side with the new console." Boom.
Thanks for writing in, Newspeak.
Yeah, thanks for writing in. Pretty cool, like getting the OG Game Boy on Christmas with Tetris. That's always like that's like a
classic
core memory,
Yeah.
Like your history was set once you got that Game Boy on Christmas. And
Absolutely.
then Mario Kart on the DS was like, oh man,
top tier.
The first time, I could not believe how good the internet worked. Like the online play worked from Mario Kart on the DS. I was like, how does this work this well? I played so much online, got really good with Dry Bones and those little tank. I freaking ripped, dude. Doing the little fishing, drifting,
I didn't think you'd be a Dry Bones kind of guy.
What kind of guy do you think I was?
Waluigi, for sure.
Because I look like him. I have the mustache, and I'm gangly.
No comment.
You son of a... I do sound kind of like him, I guess. Well, yeah, thanks for writing in. That's a great memory. And I agree that I hope that we get a portable element from a Nintendo sometime soon. I'm really hoping. We talked about it, I think, on that episode, but just the NSO enabled handheld Game Boy device that can play up to Game Boy Advance or something like that would be so nice. All right. Console controllers. Are you ready, Brandon?
Let's discuss.
So this is actually another topic that was sent in from Mark, our Aussie expat. We read it off on the previous episode or the one before that, and he had a great idea about this. Literally this, console controllers. just how they've changed and some of our personal favorites. So what I've done is I've gone through the years and picked out a bunch of like pretty global and recognizable controllers. I may have left some out, so if I did, please do not murder me. Okay, there's obviously some that aren't in here. But if you want to get mad at anybody, you can get mad at nerdist.com because I like reference their list to look at some of this stuff. So they forgot a lot of stuff too. I had to add some in here, and I was like, how could you forget the Wii U Gamepad? Come on.
That thing's disgusting. That thing.
It didn't really evolve anything. It brought us back, but it did some interesting things. So, all right. So starting at the very top, and Brandon, I don't know how you want to do this. Do you want to alternate, or do you want to just like I'll read them off and we just talk for a second about them?
Yeah, I think you read them off. We can discuss.
All right.
You lead.
In 97, we had the Atari Joystick.
77.
77, dude. What did I say?
You said 97. Great start.
1977. That's what I meant. Forgive me. 77. Run it back. 77 Atari Joystick. Just a joystick and a button.
So it's like all you need, isn't it? And that thing was hella fun. Like, I wasn't born anywhere near that time, and I'll be honest, this controller was before me. I've played on it, a couple of times in my life, but it's just, I think the way they won is that people looked at it and they wanted to grab it and play with it. They go, what the hell is this? And it's super simple. You give it to a child, give it to an old lady. It's pretty simple. Forward, back, sideways, and there's your button to do what you need with.
And it works. Yeah, I think they definitely had to figure out a way to cross over their arcade games. They're like, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to make our arcade games playable at home in a more like portable and easy fashion? And like, I think the Atari Joystick did a great job of that. Just a little handheld joystick and one button, and you would just play Pong. And
it's interesting that they didn't put the button on the top. So it can almost be like a one-hander, like. But I guess in some directions that might be awkward.
I think it would have been ideal to have both, because like I remember playing a few like space shooter games on my PC actually back in the day, Star Gunner. Oof. And that thing had like two buttons on top and a trigger, so I could like fly around and shoot and do stuff, and it felt legit. So this was the first though. This was like just getting things started. So I think it's pretty iconic. I think the Atari Joystick is something special. So I don't know. It paved the way for a lot of things to come. This next one though is pretty funny. The 1979 controller variant of Intellivision's run at console making. So if you have this list up, Brandon, this thing looks so dumb. This is I've seen the Intellivision, and every time I see it, I'm like, how do you even play on this? Like, how is this? It's literally like a phone. It's just like an old phone with like 10 buttons, maybe.
Yeah. No, it is crazy how like you look at this controller. For those that have never seen it, it's like it almost looks like an old school phone with a little like number pad on it and a disc at the bottom.
And a dial. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's crazy how if you put the Atari one next to this, you would not know how to play with this thing. Like, do you speak into it? Do I like headbutt the disc? What do I do?
That's literally what I thought. I was like, this, and they're wired. They're wired to the console with like the little like spindly like what was
classic phone cable.
Yeah, phone wire, like phone cable, spiraled wire, and so like that little disc on the side could rotate. So you could do some more stuff with it, and like obviously they could map the buttons to do something for each of those games, so you could do a lot more, I guess, in game. But in terms of controller design, this looks like absolute garbage. This is
not fun.
If anyone had to play on the Intellivision, please write into the show. I want to know what your experience was using that bad boy, because I can't imagine it was great. But hey, they tried. They tried something, so that's you can't fault them for that. And then in '83, we had the first controller from Nintendo, the NES Pad, which brought us the D-pad, the A and B button, and the start and select. Just a straight rectangle. I mean,
it's probably like one of the most iconic controllers in the world.
Yep.
it literally paved the way for, directional use on a D-pad, multiple buttons. You start and select, and that's all you need or needed for many, many years. That's all it really required. Some controllers came out with like the extra buttons, extra action buttons, but actually you can play majority of games with that controller.
What are your thoughts on the ergonomics of the NES controller, though?
Disgusting. Like who am I, SpongeBob? Like, this ain't gonna fit in anybody's hands. Do you know what I mean? Like, just no,
just straight up, just a straight rectangle. I guess they were thinking like maybe you would hold it. Like, I really don't even know. Like, no matter how you hold it, even if you try to hold it the most ergonomically pleasing way with like your fingers on the bottom side and your two thumbs like pushing the buttons on top, like it's still like your gaming sessions are not going to be super long on this. And maybe that at the time wasn't even a consideration. They're like, yeah, people aren't going to be sitting in front of the TV playing for hours, are they? It's like, no, they definitely are.
They definitely are.
You underestimate how long people will sit in front of a TV if it's good enough.
What's unique about this one as well is that the color variant is really iconic as well. We're seeing like even accessories to this day, like 8-Bit Do revealed their all new like retro mechanical keyboard that's designed after the SNES, and you've got the A/B smash buttons as like an accessory. Like, it is an iconic controller. Even
they're
if
still
it
making
does
sneakers.
hurt your hands. Yeah,
they're still making sneakers in this color variant. There's a lot that Nintendo got right with this first controller. Even like the gray lines that go down the middle, like such a stylistic choice. They could have just like made it a black controller with like black buttons or red buttons, and like I think just adding that little accent of gray just gave that extra oomph.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because they wanted to look like, I think I remember reading that they wanted the NES, they named it the entertainment system. I think they kind of wanted it to fit in with like the VCRs of that time.
Interesting.
And so I think there was like a bit of a crossover with that technology. They were like, we want it to sort of look like what they might have in their entertainment systems right now, or like their consoles with their TVs and stuff. So this needs to fit in some way.
Shame about the plastic that like yellows over time. Like, it's very rare to find like a perfectly gray NES controller these days.
Yep. Yeah, if you look at it, looks like everyone that owns these now just smoked 24/7 and like just stained their controllers brown. And it's like, I promise you, it just sat in a box.
Mint condition.
Yeah. This is horrible. Next up, though, you'll appreciate this one, Brandon. 1988, the Sega Genesis, or as you guys knew it, over the pond. Is this the Master System? Is this the same thing?
Mega Drive?
Mega Drive.
Yeah, Mega Drive Genesis.
Yeah. So much more ergonomic. 3 buttons instead of 2 on some of the variants of this controller. But same amount of buttons. Which at first when they said this, I was like, no, there's more buttons on that one if it's the 6th one. But other than that, really, it is like the same exact kind of input. You have one extra face button on the right side, so it's like A, B, and C, and then you have your D-pad and your start button. And that's it.
So this is the controller I probably had most experience with when I was a child, and it was my first home console. And I really enjoyed it. Like, the D-pad was massive for my little like childish hands. This thing was like crazy. So if you were playing like any fast games, I grew up with a left thumb 4 times as big as my right, and they'd call me Thumbboy Brand at school.
Yeah, they do.
Like,
Thumbboy Brand.
I'm only joking, but that D-pad was massive. Look at the thumb on that geezer.
Look at this guy. He must play a lot of Sega Genesis. Holy shit.
Holy cow.
What an absolute loser. The D-pad, though, this is the first one that had the full disc, it looks like. Or at least this one had the full disc that I feel like made it popular, where you could sort of more easily go diagonal in different directions. So you could go diagonally up, left, right, down. Whereas the D-pad in the NES was just up, down, left, right.
Yeah.
You could mash them and like make it go diagonally, but this one at least implied with the arrow like accents on there, like, hey, you can push this way if you need to, like there was a bit more of a design choice that way. And it definitely, from an ergonomic standpoint, was way better than the NES controller. So
yeah, and it had very little color to it, though. I don't know if the Genesis was slightly different, but we had like a little red select or start button. I think it's start.
That's more fun.
Which became a little iconic, and the AB buttons were much bigger than your NES controller. It felt a bit more,
substantial.
Yeah,
substantial. Well, I mean, it better be. It came out 5 years after the NES controller, which is kind of crazy. It's like after 5 years, this is what we could do.
All they've done is made it look like a banana. Like, well done, true innovation.
Come on, guys. I mean, I know it's a lot harder to probably manufacture things and get R&D going, but yeah, the banana ergonomics. Come on. All right. So then up next, one of the more another iconic Nintendo controller, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System in 1990. Really, all this one did was just add this is actually a bigger deal than I'm making it out to be. We had the 2 extra buttons. So you had A, B, and then they added X, Y. So we had 4 face buttons now. And then the big deal was these L and R triggers. I mean, talk about innovation. I
wonder if that was the first controller that added those trigger buttons.
I don't know if it was the first one, but in terms of categorical or time-stamped updates, it was 88 for the Genesis and 90 for the SNES. So I'm assuming, I don't think anything else came out in between there.
No, yeah. That's actually impressive. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, you don't see
and
it.
The iconic the colors as well, between the EU and the US based controllers.
I love both. I honestly am kind of sad we didn't really get as many EU versions over in the United States, because I love the different colors of the buttons. Like it just was it was just easier to parse out what the buttons were supposed to be, whereas in this one they're like 2 shades of purple in the US. I wonder why they chose purple over the bright colors of the EU version.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That would be a good story. Like if someone researched that.
Why'd you guys do this? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
There has to be a reason, right? Because that's only going to cost them more.
Yeah,
in production
you could have just shipped the whole thing out. But I mean, they had to have done some market research, and like I guess that study group was like, we like the colors here, and then America's like, we don't like those colors. It needs to be, it needs to be more muted, still boring.
The EU's just like, I like colors.
Yeah, and America's like, it needs to look really good in our home entertainment system still. And it's like, damn it, okay, here's some purple buttons. Here you go. But I loved
it. Was Nintendo's first time of like trying to add some kind of ergonomics. They were just like, let's just make it a little bit more round. Maybe not banana, but let's go with binoculars this time. I like the binoculars design.
That is a good comparison. It literally is like holding it up to your face. This is what it would look like.
Yeah.
I definitely felt more comfortable playing on this, and I liked the convex or concave buttons for the X and Y, so you knew at least which ones you were hitting. Like, okay, this is the X and Y up here. That feels different. Yeah. It felt good to also switch from like running with Mario with the Y button and jumping with B. Like that was a very natural placement. But yeah, still not like fit for your hands. Like you still had to like
flat, aren't they?
Yeah, you still had to like claw it like this and just like smash that thing to like make those jumps. Like I remember my hand would hurt after playing like Mega Man X or something like that. I'd be like trying to dash jump at the same time, and like my thumb was like falling off. I'm like, dude, this is so freaking hard. We had tiny thumbs back then too. Now that I'm older.
I don't know if the EU controller had concaved buttons. I don't think they did. I think that was US as well.
Oh my gosh, we should have done some more research.
I'm looking at images here, and from what I can remember, we didn't have the concave buttons like you did. I might be wrong.
All rounded, eh? Wow. Must be nice. It probably feels better, honestly, than the concave. I don't know. The concave was nice. I liked it, but all round is a good just synonymous design choice as well. So, man, we got to figure out why they made those choices. That'll be a fun story. All right, next up, PlayStation enters the game in 94 with the second set of trigger buttons, R2 and L2. So the original DualShock or D-pad. I don't know what you'd even call this thing. Just the PlayStation controller.
Yeah, because they had like individual direction buttons, right? It wasn't like a pad.
No, this was still a pad, dude. So this actually was not the DualShock. This was just the OG PlayStation controller.
Oh, right, yeah. Oh, Yeah, no, yeah, they're like how I explained it wrong. The D-pad they're like separated. The D-pad are like
Yes.
The direction buttons are slightly separated, which I think was a nice little design choice. But
yeah, it's connected underneath there, but on top, it's very distinct D-pad directions. And then they gave you the second R2 button, so you have R1, L1, and then you have R2, L2. So that was the first time we had those triggers like that. And I would say a major step forward in terms of ergonomics, because this looks like something you can actually hold now, where you're like, all right, there's little side paddles for my hands to grip onto, and I can, more easily play this game. And
this is where Sony's vision is probably thinking of like, we want gamers to play longer. People are playing for over an hour. We need to give them some kind of comfortability.
You're gonna stay here forever. You like Lara Croft? Well, we made a controller that's gonna make you play for forever.
Yeah. The only downfall with that, I remember twisting mine. Like when I used to die, I'd be twisting it and you just hear the little cracks inside, like, no! And that would be enough for me to calm down. If I'm just getting a little bit of feedback that I'm breaking something.
You're like, okay, that's enough for me. I've relieved my stress. I do feel like this is a great step for Sony as well. Like the iconic buttons, X, circle, triangle, square. We all have an X button, but no one else really has the circle, triangle, square situation going on. And that's right. Yeah, so all have X, but they took their own route, kind of added the light pink, the green, the red, the blue. Love those colors.
Iconic. And I think like when did this come out? 94?
Yeah, 94.
This is where like design started getting competitive. Each controller needed to be visually different, visually unique, and give you the notification of, okay, this is Sony, this is Nintendo. And I think Sony, they did something unique with the D-pad and obviously the action buttons.
Yeah. And we'll talk about Sony a little bit later. We'll mention the PS3 controller briefly, but it doesn't really change much outside of the analog sticks. So we'll get to that shortly. But speaking of analog sticks, the N64 controller. You know how I feel about this one. In 96, we got the beautiful N64 controller, and that brought us it wasn't the first controller with the joystick, like the miniature thumbstick. That goes to the Neo Geo CD in 94.
Nice.
So the same time that the PlayStation came out. However, the 64 was the console that actually made it like a big deal, because no one bought the Neo Geo CD in 94. So good on you, Nintendo, for bringing that technology forward. It also was made for people with 3 arms. So, if you wanted to grab the middle section, the left section, or the right section, you could do that. And it had the Z trigger, which I thought was pretty cool. And then
do you like this controller? Do you like this controller?
I love this controller.
No.
I love this controller, Brandon. I think it feels good in my hands still. Like if I hold this today, in whatever grip form they want me to hold it, like it's those handles are long. And so even for a person with big hands, like holding it actually feels pretty solid. Like my fingers can wrap all the way around this thing and like not actually hit the ends, like the top little piece. And then like the Z trigger just rests perfectly in my middle finger right there. And it's just my pointer finger, I guess, but it just feels good, man. It's a good controller. What do you have against the N64 controller?
It's almost like they put it in a random like AI generator and was like, whoa! And you're like, what the hell? It's 3 bananas and a trigger button. Like, what's going on here?
How dare you? How dare you slander the N64 controller?
But it's so classic that you can't truly hate it, But my God, it looks disgusting.
It does look disgusting, and I do think, like, if you're going to play the N64, you have to really. The only game that makes you switch halfway through really is Mario Party, and like a few other instances in some games where like they make you use the D-pad for stuff. But like most of the time, you were just using the joystick in the middle and then the right side buttons, and like so you were pretty close, like right here, and it felt pretty natural, pretty comfortable to hold. And I'm kind of sad they moved away from the offset joystick kind of situation, because I feel like that to me is the most comfortable setup for like a joystick, either like offset in your hands and your buttons are above it or below it.
Yeah.
We never got that again with Nintendo. Well, actually, no. Maybe the Pro controller has the same setup. I have to go back and look at my controller now. I can't remember. All right. 97, PlayStation DualShock. So this is the one that brought out the 2 joysticks. And I mean, this is what we still have today. Like, this design literally influenced every other controller going forward. And they're still all the same. They're still 2 joysticks, pretty much the same amount of buttons, D-pad, 4 face buttons, start, select, and then R2 and L2, or that kind of stuff. Like, this is the exact same design, pretty much.
You can see like all of these companies trying to one up each other. It's like, oh, you got 2 buttons? Mega Drive, we'll add 3. And then Nintendo's like, well, we got something called triggers, back triggers, baby. And now Sony's just like, well, the N64 had 1 little nipple. We're going to make 2 big grippy nipples on this bitch.
2 big grippy nipples. I do not like you calling them grippy nipples. That is the worst.
Apologies.
That is the worst name you could have applied to joysticks. How dare you?
But this was close to perfection, in my honest opinion. Like, perfecting a controller. You had everything. It might have felt a little bit too much back in the day. Like, what am I meant to do with all of these buttons? But actually, moving forward, you don't really need any more than that.
You really don't. I don't think that there's been an added button after this that I'm like, oh man, yeah, like we really needed this. This is what was missing. In terms of input, yeah, this is all you need. And they kind of kept that design for a while. So this is the original PlayStation 1 had the DualShock. And then they brought it to the PS2, pretty much the same. They brought it to the PS3, pretty much the same. They added like 6-axis controls on the inside, and that was about it. Maybe rumble. And then, that was, I think, PS2. They had rumble in the original one, in DualShock. And then, PS4, PS5. PS4 was almost the same design, just minus the touchpad. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Now, up for maybe one that I know you like, the 1998 Sega Dreamcast controller. A literal spaceship.
Yeah, it's the same size as a frying pan. The cable comes out of the bottom as well. You've got like the unique triangle start, but you've got like the huge analog stick, the analog triggers as well. They were some of my favorite triggers, and that's when triggers started to like properly evolve.
Those were nice.
People want like feedback on that thing. Maybe the N64 kind of started that, but it wasn't like full analog, like an actual like 2-inch distance between like activating it. And then the classic VMU, like that thing, I had a bunch of fun with the VMU, and it was the first time where a controller kind of gave you some kind of engagement. Yeah,
I think like the idea of being able to use the VMU in so many different ways is what makes the Dreamcast controller that cool. I do remember holding it and actually it feeling very comfortable. It felt substantial. It felt expensive. I was like, dude, how are they affording to like make this many controllers this way? Because everything else had kind of been pretty small up to that point, or like compact, minus I guess the 64. But this just felt on a different level. Those triggers really did feel very high quality. And then like, the VMU, I never actually had a friend that had one. But like just reading about what you could do with this just blows my mind. So like it would change based on what game you're playing. So it would display health. There'd be like a compass on there sometimes. You could like play mini games on there. You could trade with friends, transfer your saves. Like there's just so much that they could have done, so much potential with this controller, and they didn't make it out, which is a true shame.
It's a real shame. Another cool thing is you could take your save states over to your friends if they had like a Dreamcast. Just pop that in, bang,
and you're good to go.
Yeah, you could even sell your save states if you want. Like, you can't get past that level? 12 potatoes and I'll give you this VMU.
It's always potatoes.
We're in the West Country, buddy.
12 potatoes. I've got you. I just have never wheeled and dealed in food. Like I've never been like, I have 4 Pop-Tarts. Do you want to? Actually, that's a lie. I have definitely wheeled and dealed in food before.
Surely, like at school, like you got like an extra baby bell in your lunchbox. You're like, hey, buddy. Baby Bell for that Charizard.
Dude, my mom would always pack the worst bologna sandwiches. And so I'd be like
Bologna. What's bologna?
So it's just, I don't know how to describe. It's just like all the worst parts of like the pig or like beef, like slammed up and then like smashed back together, and then like little circle discs. Sometimes it has like the little like wrapper you have to peel off around the edges of it.
Oh, my stomach's getting upset just thinking about that, man.
Put it on your sandwich, and it was just that and a Kraft single, just like the rubberiest, nastiest cheese on some white bread.
God. No, is that why you guys say that's bologna?
I mean, yes, right. Honestly, yeah, bologna, like fake, like not good.
Hilarious.
Yeah, dude. Bologna sandwiches would not recommend.
Jesus.
They get you through. Some times. And, growing up, we didn't have any main apprehension to it. But, like, when it was on a sandwich and there was no condiments at all, so you're just eating cheese, bologna, and bread, like, it's the driest. Jesus. It's just like...
Nobody wants to trade for that. Keep your bologna.
I really had to do some talking. I had to do some talking to make sure people wanted my bologna sandwich.
You became the best salesman at school.
We got to hire this kid. He's a genius.
He's hilarious.
Just trading up teachers.
God, that guy sold 3 bolognas this week. Jesus. He's on fire. He keeps selling it to the guy with a huge thumb.
That kid needs to stop playing the Sega Genesis.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Look at that thumb on that kid.
It's like a third arm.
I am grossed out.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Ooh, I got the giggles. My abs hurt. All right. Let's go to the next controller. So, the Nintendo GameCube, 2001. We talked about this a little bit last week when you were, the previous episode when you brought out the Nitro deck. This iconic, like,
I've got it here, actually.
Purple controller with, the only thing the GameCube controller really did differently was move around their joysticks. So the offset joysticks show up here, where you have the main movement joystick top left, and then your camera controls bottom right. Still aptly titled the C stick on this one. And then I think I like that they moved the D-pad down below. I think they're kind of following some steps from the Dreamcast here. The Dreamcast did that in 98. They put it below the actual analog stick, and I think that's a good idea. But then this controller became like synonymous with Smash Bros. On GameCube. Yeah. Like this is still the preferred controller for Smash Bros. Players today. Like they will not play on anything else because of how button mapping works and different like grips that they have. Like it's a very comfortable controller, but it actually took away some buttons. This is the first time I feel like there's less buttons on a controller in like from the previous generation. So we didn't get an L1. It only had the Z trigger and then the analog L and R, which were nice. I loved the L and R for like haptic push downs on like Super Mario Sunshine. If you wanted to like sputter out some water instead of like shoot all of your water out, you could like hold it halfway down and it would shoot some out. Like that was a cool feature. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the GameCube? Sorry.
It's a great like button masher. I love the new addition to the analog stick where it's like, is it octagonal? I can't remember which kind of shape it is, which gives you a slightly different gaming experience. In terms of like design, it looks pretty disgusting. If you were to look at it, you go, what the hell? They've gone for the banana look again, and then they've added in like, I don't know even what you call that. It almost looks like 2 fishing rods on it. But in the color again, like this is where we start getting into like unique colored controllers just to give it some kind of visual sell, I guess. But you can't complain with this controller. It's done great, and people still love it to this day. And that's why the companies like this are coming out with all of their, GameCube accessories. So yeah,
accessories and different plugins, and then we had the Wavebird too, which was like like an incredible wireless controller. Like I don't know if it was the first one to go fully wireless, but it definitely was the most notable. Like people freaking love the Wavebird, and I liked the different size, like A B. So like the A button on this was massive, B button like tiny, Y and X like above it. So it all kind of laid on the controller well, and I think that was a good design choice.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, now 2001, the Duke.
The Duke, this thing, man. This thing. Like, kids, I struggled to pick this thing up.
The OG Xbox controller. an absolute beast. But it was, I don't know about you. I mean, your hands are probably similar size to mine, maybe a little bit smaller, but like this was a very comfortable controller for me to hold.
Yeah.
Well, I felt like it was great. The triggers all felt very like responsive and nice, like the buttons with that like transparent, like almost gem-like appearance, I thought was really cool. I didn't love the black and white. Like, I guess, I don't know what those were up top. Didn't love those buttons. Don't know what those were for. Like everything was kind of like, it was just awkward to get up there.
What menus? I don't really know. I can't remember, but I should know because I used to play on the Xbox for days even. And you pick up this thing and you go, I'm going to be comfortable for a while. Let me get my popcorn. Let me get my bologna sandwich. I'm about to get down for the evening.
Let me get this real quick. Yeah, I mean, the bologna sandwich. You monster. But yeah, I mean, this is where Xbox kind of cemented their place in game history. And they had the offset joysticks, they had the D-pad below it, and they basically iterated on this shortly after and made the Xbox 360 controller, which I feel like is still one of the most perfect controllers that has like ever existed. I think that thing just like, that was like the best controller, like comfort wise. I had the PS5, and even still, I believe that the offset joysticks are a much better design choice. Like they just feel better in my hand. So props
with
to
the
you,
Duke,
Xbox.
you could put in your little memory card. Was it the memory card then to top as well, which was quite nice.
Two little slots.
They took that from Dreamcast, I guess.
I guess so, yeah. I mean, and one thing about the 64 controller we didn't mention was just like the ability to like augment and add like the Rumble pack if you wanted to. You could put in like a memory pack or your Game Boy cartridges and stuff like that. Like,
Did
I think
have
that
a microphone. Was there a microphone adapter for it? Jesus, they'll stick anything in that thing.
You could do a lot. You really could. You could do a lot. So I like that controller. All right, the Wiimote and Nunchuck. So this was a big time for Nintendo. This one, what was your experience with the Wii? Did you have a Wii?
Yeah, I remember my first experience with the Wii. I was walking through Bristol with my parents. We were going shopping. It's like it's just the city, and we were near the shopping mall. And Nintendo were showing off the Wii outside, and I just went up to it and started playing. And I was like, "What the hell is?" It was like the first time where you get pulled in to a console just because of the controls. And as much as like this broke multiple millions of TVs throughout the planet, it was just. Every kid loved it because it was so universal. It looked like a gun, looked like a lightsaber, looked like a fishing rod. Like it could be anything. Admittedly, it was a little awkward to use, I found, with like the two controllers because your hands were separated. You're like, well, what am I meant to do? But it was Nintendo's. It was a huge risk on Nintendo, and I think it paid off dividends.
I think you're absolutely right. Like this is one of the few times where the controller takes the front seat in terms of what brought people to that console. Because like if it had just been like another Nintendo console with another iteration on what we already had, it would not have sold. Like probably would have been another GameCube situation where like a good console by all means, but not enough to like make me want it. But this was like, everyone's like, holy smokes, like what is this? I'm bowling on the TV with this thing. Like I can like play shooting games. I can swing swords. Like just such a fun idea. I was obsessed. I remember drawing this controller like on my like homework at school. I'd be like working and I'd be like drawing the Wiimote on there, like, oh yeah, this is what it's gonna look like, and here's the buttons, and like I was just like obsessed.
Did your parents buy you like the protector, like the silicon protector, just in case you were to launch it at your brother?
No, it didn't. It didn't come with it, and my parents didn't.
Dog.
My parents did. Just raw dogging.
Jesus, man. Your parents are, did you break a TV? You must have broken a TV.
No, we were, man. I mean, we were good with it. We weren't that crazy, like with like the bowling and stuff. And our entertainment center was like pretty massive. Like we had one of those huge CRT TVs back in the day, and it was on a stand. And so like, even if we wanted to break it, I think like if we like let go it, I don't know if it would have hit the TV or not. Yeah. I don't know if it would have hit the TV or not. But man, good times. Wii Sports with this was just like the combination. Also,
you could use it on the side as well for other games.
Yeah, you could turn it sideways. It had a speaker in it, which was like kind of a first. So it was kind of cool. Yeah.
I can't remember that.
And I don't know if this is the first time. I guess the Wavebird would have brought this on the NES, or the GameCube, but the light at the bottom to indicate like, which controller you have paired, and that kind of carried all the way through Nintendo stuff after that too. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, good on you, Nintendo. Good on you. All right, we're getting close to more modern times. The DualShock 4. I thought this controller was great, very comfortable, a more refined version of the DualShock prior to that. Much better, I think, than the PS3 controller, which really, other than having 6-axis, was kind of just a light piece of garbage that they threw out with the garbage console. But the PS4 brought it back to like a refined look. I love the rounded edges, and then they brought in what was new, which was the touchpad. This huge touchpad that no one used.
They didn't, did they? Now that you mention it, nobody used that thing.
No one used that.
One thing I liked about this controller is that Sony really started bringing out different editions and different color variants, like camouflage and limited edition with the consoles and stuff. It was the first time. Maybe PS3 did a little bit of it, but it was the first time where you can like actually start collecting controllers, like just controllers, if you wanted to. I think the Nintendo Wii did it a little bit with like stuff.
A little bit. And the N64 obviously had a lot of color variants, but again, no one really needed that many controllers of that at that time.
No,
like I don't want this. Just four for the multiplayer stuff. But yeah, this one also brought in the headphone jack and the speaker, which I feel like was those are notable additions. And then the share button, they got rid of select and added share, and this kind of has carried into the next generation controllers as well.
That was a faff though, wasn't it? From what I remember. You press it and you got to log in and you got to like use the little touchpad. Like, nah, get out of here.
If you're already logged in, it wasn't that big of a deal. But yeah, it was, this was like when social media was like at its height, and like, okay, we got to get people like sharing their gameplay and their screenshots like on the internet somehow, so let's do this. Boom, share button. So I think, great controller. It worked just as you needed it to. No real fancy things. And I also had that little the light bar on the front.
Yes.
That would change colors based on like, if you were damaged or whatever, or just to indicate your player, which I thought was always fun at like parties. We'd play like Towerfall Ascension or something like that, and like each player would have their own little colors to indicate who they were. So that was kind of a fun feature too.
Yeah.
I might have skipped over one. Oh, I did. I skipped. Sorry. We missed the Wii U Gamepad, brother.
Damn it. I was hoping you missed that one. This is disgusting.
In 2012. Okay, look. Yes, I agree. It is not a good controller. All right. It's a giant Fisher-Price toy. It's a piece of garbage. But they tried and did so many things. I feel like Nintendo had to get all of their garbage ideas out into the world. They're like, look, we did a lot with the Wii. Let's just try it again and do something totally crazy and see what happens and get more people in. And it didn't work, obviously. But I mean, like, think about this. It had a touchscreen and or stylus built into it. You could do seamless like play right from your console without the TV being on. It had an NFC reader. It had a built-in camera and a microphone. And you could do like it had like 6-axis and like motion on it. You could set it up and point your Wiimote at it if you want to and play like Wii games on the actual screen. Like there was a lot going on in this controller.
But it was the same size as a skateboard. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ. Like, it's like a small table.
Listen, like, you just sit at the couch and it's fine.
Fair play. I'll give it to Nintendo for taking a risk on this. But it didn't pay off.
It did not pay off. Did not pay off. All right, we have 3 controllers left. We have the Xbox One controller. And really, not much has changed from the 360 for Xbox. They've made small refinements. This one had the headphone jack. The 360 had that like tiny, I forget what size jack that is, but it was like a special headphone set you had to buy. Whereas this one now, the new ones all have the same exact headphone jack, 3.5 millimeters. It's great. Better ergonomics, rumble triggers, which I thought was kind of cool. Before PlayStation did that in PS5, they had like something going on in the triggers to like make it feel like you were drifting into the dirt or something like that on some of the racing games.
What's interesting is with this one is that they've kept the batteries. You got to use like AA batteries, which is unique. Like it's almost like they've gone back a little bit, but obviously it's for a reason. You can buy your wireless packs should you want to, but I think this one they've just kind of focused on ergonomics, and then they've obviously launched a pro controller that's extortionate pricing. Should you want to map your keys, change your buttons, it's got a unique like D-pad and stuff, but I think they call it the Elite controller actually.
Yeah, I think in Xbox One is the first generation that had the Elite controller, and then they have it again for the Series X now too, the modern controllers. But yeah, not much to say about the Xbox One controller. Good controller. It's kind of the same for the Series X. But last, in terms of like major updates, we have the Switch, the Joy-Cons. So haptic rumble was introduced on the Joy-Cons. You know, they tried showing these in like tech demos where like you could tilt the controller and feel like little metallic balls like rolling around on the inside, and like there was supposed to be more to that. I don't really feel like they've capitalized on the rumble as much as they should have with these. There's an IR sensor, which I don't know has also been used, but that just I remember like in a WarioWare game, I think you open your mouth and I close to make it look like you're eating a sandwich.
Did they use with the cardboard stuff as well? Whatever it was, the Switch I can't remember what it was called.
Labo.
That's the one.
Yeah, where you could like throw it and like they do a lot. They do a lot, but I think the biggest thing is that, you know, you can literally slide them onto the Switch and turn that into a Wii U Gamepad if you want to. And then you can slide them off and play in a different grip if you want to, like left, right, or you can hand it to a friend that can play it sideways, like on the go. And I think that's really cool. And that's why
that's the magic, isn't it? You're handing it over to a friend, playing Mario Kart with one of your buddies just on the train. Even though it's tiny, it has to be tiny because it's technically a portable console.
Yep. Yeah. Not the most comfortable, I would say, when they're on their sides, but they do a great job. And thankfully, they also have a really, really comfortable Pro controller that I would say is almost identical to the Xbox 360 controllers or like Xbox controllers.
It'd be silly for us to not mention the drift that the analog sticks have, and it's causing a lot of people issues. Because I've gone through 2 pairs of Joy-Cons, and they are not cheap. And actually, that shit should be illegal, you know? Because I'd love to see the average Switch player and how many Joy-Cons they've purchased. Probably more than the console itself. Is actually ridiculous.
I have 3. I have 3 sets, and 2 of them have drift. 2 sets have drift. So, yeah.
You're a 66% drift hit. Woo.
It's not good. Actually, I have 4 sets. I had 4 sets. I sold my Switch to somebody else, my OG one. But I got the OLED one, so that brought me up to 4 actually. So I have OLED Joy-Cons now. But I'm sure they'll have the same problem in a few months anyways. Trash. But yeah, I mean, other than that, the Joy-Cons are great. And then, you know, we're now at modern console controllers. We have the DualSense and the Xbox Series X. Not much has changed in terms of previous iterations, but the DualSense, I do feel like I put in a little bit more into their controller. So we do have the adaptive triggers, which is kind of cool. So you can feel tension if you're pulling back a bowstring or you're shooting a machine gun and it kind of like clicks back and forward for you. The share buttons are, you know, existent on both of these controllers, and then you have haptic rumble now on the PS5 DualSense, which is kind of cool. And like Astrobots Rescue Mission or whatever the more recent one is for PS5, it just feels like you can feel like raindrops and stuff like hitting the controller, and it feels kind of cool. But again, not like anything game changing. Everything else is kind of the same.
I remember them selling that as like a big feature with the PS5, and actually, don't want to sound negative, but it's rarely used in the games I play on nowadays. Like very rarely used. It almost becomes a little bit of a shock when it is used, which is disappointing.
Well, I think there's only a few applications for it. You know, like I've only seen it used in like certain instances where it's like rain, or you know, there's like a bunch of like particles falling or something like that. That's the only way they can like really use it that well. They try to do it with like footsteps. I've noticed like there'll be someone walking in the other room, and it'll feel like they're further away, and then they get closer and they get more prominent. But it's not anything that's like, this is next level gaming, you know. Maybe if we brought it back to somebody in like the 90s and showed them, they'd be like, whoa, this is insane.
Jeez. Maybe. I don't know. I was expecting like some kind of little like LED screen or something that gives us some kind of visuals, a bit like the Dreamcast VMU, something where you get like a little, just, I don't know, some vajazzle.
That's not a word. That is not a word.
Don't Google it. Please don't Google it because you'll see some weird stuff, man. Do not Google it.
Oh, bedazzled. Let's use that in word. Bedazzled. But yeah, those are all the controllers. We went through all of them. So of these that we've talked about, Brandon, which of them are your favorites? Do you have any like that stand out for you?
Dreamcast, because it was so unique. It was visionary. They did stuff others weren't. And the Duke, just for being absolutely badass and a weapon in your household.
And a weapon.
Yeah.
For me, I think it'd be the 64. You know me. I'm just a slut for that 64 controller, man. I love it. I think it's great. There's just something about what they tried with that controller that makes me love it so much. I think the Wii also deserves a special shout out just because it's just so unique. And then to give some non-Nintendo love, I think the 360 / the Duke, those two controllers, like,
was the 360 or was it the PS2? Which one like first went wireless as like a basic commodity that you'd get? Was it the 360? No, well, 360 had wired as well.
The PS3 was also wireless at one point. They may have had wired versions. I think maybe PS3, honestly.
Right. A bit later.
But the 360, they had the option to put the wireless pack on it or like buy the wireless versions shortly after the wired version. And you could get those like rechargeable battery packs put in there too. So yeah, it was a good controller, man. It was a good controller. All right, well, this has been a longer episode. So that was fun. Once again, Mark, thank you for the topic suggestion. Hope you enjoyed us walking through these, and an audience, we hope you enjoyed as well. But Brandon, before we close out, I got to know, what are you playing?
I'm still dabbling on F-Zero 99. I still have yet to come first.
Nice.
So I will not sleep till that happens.
Still gunning for it. Dude, I have not picked up like a game controller or like anything this past week. Like I haven't gamed it all this past week.
Good on you, man.
The only thing I've played is this game called Coffee Golf. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's on a phone, and it's like it's like Wordle. Like when that took over, the whole point was to try and beat your friends in terms of guessing it faster or getting it in less guesses. This is the same concept, but with just like golf. So you're just like, it's 5 holes, and you can play them or tackle them in any order you want to. And the par like basically just adds on your strokes as you go to the next hole.
So there's like a new one every day?
Every single day.
Great concept.
It's pretty fun. It's a pretty fun little game. So yeah, I've been playing that with a few friends, and it's actually it's a fun little activity in the morning. Like I get my coffee, get to work, get all my emails all set up, and I'm like, checking through things, and I'm like, all right, time to hit a few golf holes. See how I do. Exactly, just like that. Great, nice. Great sound effect. All right, well, listeners, that is all the time we have this week. Which controller is your favorite? Or did we leave one out that we should know about? Let us know by writing into Retrospect at retrododo.com or commenting on your preferred listening channel. Brandon, where can the good folks find you on the internet?
Retro_Dodo.
Bada bing, bada boom. And for me, it's Bitbloggist, BITBLOGGIST. Until then, though, we'll catch you in the next episode. Beep.